لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائمون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. والحمد لله على رسول المسدد المحمود الأحمد بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتاب المجيد والفرقان الحميد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان. أحسن الله لك العزاء في جدك إمام علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على. We are gathered here to commemorate the wafat of our eighth Imam, Imam Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. The Imam was born in Medina in 148 after Hijrah, and he was poisoned by Ma'mun al-Rashid and passed away on the 29th of Safar, 203 after Hijrah, at an age of 55 years. Historically, Harun al-Rashid was the Khalifa that poisoned Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, and he had two sons, Amin, who was from an Arab mother, and Ma'mun, who was from an Irani mother. And when Harun passed away, he divided his kingdom into half. The Persian side of it was given to Ma'mun, the Iraq, Sham, that kind of side was all given to Amin. These two brothers fought amongst themselves for the Khilafat. Eventually, Ma'mun was successful, his brother was killed, and he became the supreme Khalifa. But when he became the supreme Khalifa, there was still a lot of opposition in the Ummah, and he wanted to establish his kingdom. So anytime the Bani Umayyah or the Bani Abbas realized that they were in trouble, they always turned to Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And they would come to them and try and use them for their own benefit. So he ordered Imam Rida alayhi salam to come to Marv, which is a part of modern day Turkestan, which is about 6 hours away from Mashhad today, that part north of there. And he ordered them, and the whole idea was that he would use the influence, the moral authority of Imam Rida alayhi salam to establish his kingdom. And Imam alayhi salam was forced to go there. Now there is a long history, and I don't want to go there. I'm going somewhere else today. But just to share some thoughts with you, Allama Majlisi in Biharul Anwar writes about some of the fadail of Imam Rida alayhi salam, in which he says that when Imam alayhi salam used to sit for a meal, he would not sit alone or with his family only. All that worked with him, all the employees that worked with him, all sat with him. Imam would never eat alone. He would say no, everybody. So when he eventually became the heir apparent or the crown prince of Ma'mun in Marv, he established the same system. So there were some royal people and said, well, these are workers. They should be having lunch and dinner separately. Why do they have to sit with us? And the Imam replied, all are created by Allah. Adam is their father and Hawa is their mother. Everyone will be dealt with by Allah according to his deeds. Why should there be any discrimination in this world? Therefore, they are all the same. We are all the same father, same mother. Judgment will be based on your actions. So just because today somebody is a king, somebody is a minister, somebody is something, and somebody is a worker, doesn't make him any lesser a person. Therefore, they are all the same. And they had no argument for that one. Another example in his life is that, there is one man comes to him and says, oh, by Allah, there is no one who is superior to you in the nobleness of your ancestry. Your ancestry is such that there is nobody better. The Imam did not say yes or anything. He says, my ancestors are honored merely for their godliness, piety and worship. This is the ma'yar. This is the standard. That if you are aware, you have taqwa, you are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are pious and you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the ma'yar. Just because my father was good does not make me good. I don't get a free pass. I don't get a free pass because my father was good. In fact, the responsibility is higher on me. Allah will question and says, well, your father was good. How on earth did you turn out like that? Right? So there is more responsibility. If the father was bad and I turned out bad, then yeah, there is a possibility I can get away with an excuse. But if the father was good or the lineage is good, then the question will come, how come you became like that? The other thing was that when Imam alayhi salam was called by Ma'mun, now remember, in the older days, wasn't like this, where you want to go to Mashhad, in 12 hours you're already there. The days they had to travel, it took days and days and days to travel. So when Imam was ordered to come to Marv, he went on this long journey and he stayed in Qum for a few months. And that's where he established this idea of a majlis that we understand today. This idea of a majlis for Imam Hussein alayhi salam was already established, but it was during the time of the 5th Imam and the 6th Imam, but it was done in their homes. When people used to come to visit the Imam, the majlis used to be held in the house of the Imam. But on a formal note, the way we have in public, this was established by Imam Rida alayhi salam. This was established by him and he would do that. And now because he was the crown prince and the Imam of the same time also, when he arrived in Mar, he established that in the kingdom of Ma'mun also. So you remember, a responsibility of the Imam is that wherever he finds himself, whatever situation he finds himself in, his job is to deliver the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anytime there is an opening, they will use that opening to make sure that the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically given out to the people, so that the people are not left out. So this idea of the majlis as we have, this is to the barakah of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And the interesting thing is that Ali, when you read the English poetry, he made reference to Da'b al-Khazai, right? He was a famous poet. And it is reported that one day Da'b visited Imam Rida alayhi salam, and Imam says, oh Da'b, are you aware what day it is? He says, yes, Mawla, it is the 1st of Muharram. It is the 1st of Muharram. So Imam turns to him and says, oh Da'b, you are a famous poet. Have you not written something? He says, Mawla, I have something. So Imam orders that the people be, you gathered together. It was in his house. A curtain was dropped. The ladies were called, right? And Imam says, Taqaddam, go ahead and sit. He says, Mawla, in your presence, I can't sit on the member. In your presence, I cannot. He says, no, this is an order from me. You sit. This is the sharaf. So Da'b sits and he starts talking. And Ali made references to that. That is, the poetry is so good that it is part of Arabic literature also. Where he talks about, in reference, he's referring to Bibi Fatima salamullahi alayha and says, I wish you were there, O Fatima, to see what happened to Hussein alayhi salam. Right? And he's relating it one after the other until such time that the crying was soft. Now the crying level increased. It increased to such a level that the women's sounds also started increasing. Imam says, Da'bal, enough. You have done enough, right? And then Imam gives him a shirt. He gives him a shirt as a gift. He says, Mawla, no, I cannot accept it. If you really want to give me something, give me the shirt off your back. The one you are wearing, not a new shirt, the one you are wearing. And Imam says, oh Dabal, I'm giving you this shirt as well as the shirt of my back also. This is the gift, because this was the greatest gift that one could get. You get the shirt off the back of your Imam alayhi salam. One day a man comes to Imam and says, I am one of your followers and have love for the Ahlul Bayt. I am returning from a pilgrimage to Mecca, but now I am penniless, I overspent. I have no money to get back home. If you can help me and give me enough money so that I can get home, I'm okay back home. I'm all right. I have enough funds. But there was no Western Union, there was no bank transfers, nothing was there like this, right? So if you were stuck, you were stuck. You had to borrow money from somebody. If you give me enough, when I get back home, I will donate it to the poor in your name. Right? And Imam says that no, don't worry. Imam goes inside the house, collects some money, then calls him out, stands behind a curtain and gives him some money. And he says, take these 200 dinars, these are your travel expenses, and may this bring you the blessings of Allah. There is no need to give equivalent money to the poor. But if you feel you must give this money out, then give it to the orphans and the widows of your town. Imam is teaching him double things. One, that the status of orphans and widows is very high. You must look after them. Right? They do not have to extend their hand to you. You must take care of them. If you must do it, you don't have to give it back. Consider it as a gift from me. But if you feel you must do it, then do it this way. The man left, and then Imam comes back into the seat where the people were seated, and the people turn to him and says, Yabna Rasulillah, why did you do it like this? Why did you not give him just like that? Why did you go behind, stood behind a curtain and then gave it to him so he could not? He says, I did not want to make him feel ashamed that he was extending his hand to me. I wanted to protect his izzah, right? That if he felt, he would feel low in front of me, and I did not want to do that. That is why I gave it to him behind a curtain. So this is an adab of having to give. Not that I make an announcement when I give you some money and that the whole world should know. No. We give it privately, we give it and we forget about it, right? Khair, when you do, the Ahlul Bayt have taught us that whenever you do khair, you give and you forget about it. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Abu Salt Harbi, who is a companion of the Imam, he says that the Imam left Nishapur and reached a village called Din Shurq. It was at the time of Dhuhr. Imam descended from the horse he was traveling and asked for water to perform the Dhuhr prayers so they could do wudu. There was no water found. Then the Imam with his own hands dug a small place and a spring gushed out, and the Imam and his companions performed wudu. This is the place called Qadamgah. Right? For those of you who have been to Mashhad, may Allah grant you another opportunity. For those that have never been, may Allah grant you a very quick opportunity to go. Every place of ziyarah that you go to is something special. But there is something about Mashhad that cannot be explained. Only those that have gone can relate to it. There is something about Mashhad. You tell me to go to Mashhad tomorrow, and if I don't have any commitments, I will go. Right? There is something about the presence, being in the presence of Imam Rida alayhi salam, that cannot be explained. And therefore I repeat myself, and I will never stop repeating this. The best gift you can give to your children, your grandchildren, is to encourage them and pay, if possible, for their visit to Karbala. When I use the word Karbala, I mean Karbala, Najaf, Samarra, Kazmain, Mashhad, Qom, Makkah, Medina, and Sham. Right? This is when I use the word. This is what. Go there. Go there, and I guarantee you that when you have gone there, you will leave your soul there, your body will come back. And every time you hear that somebody is going, you will say, why not me too? This year you heard 21 million, 30 million, so many people went for Arba'in. And the thought that crossed all of our minds, those that have gone, why was there not 21 million and one, me included? Why wasn't there one me included also? Allah grant me that opportunity next year to go, inshallah, right? So this is that. There is that. And the advantage that you will see, this is the best. Take them to, Australia or Mexico or India or Pakistan or Africa or New Zealand or North Pole, South Pole, wherever you want. By all means, if Allah has blessed you, take them everywhere you want, but take them to Karbala also. Right? When you do that, what you will have done is that if they make the connection with Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, as life throws them difficulties when they come back, and once in a while they will slip away from the path, and when they slip away from the path, and when Muharram comes and they hear the word Ya Hussein, they will all come back. They will all come back because Imam Hussein's hand is already extended. It is always extended. It says, just take my hand and I will take you. Just extend your hand to me, to hold my hand, I will take you to the ultimate destination, right? This is the beauty. So if you do not have the funds to be able to finance them, encourage them also. Create the desire within themselves that they want to go to Karbala. The interesting thing, just to give you an idea, at JCC, just a week, 10 days, 15 days ago, when they had the walk, right? They created this walk idea, and they had this khayam and everything that they had up there. And the children all walked. And you know what the reaction was? After the children finished this one and they went through it, was just a simile. This was the first trial that ever done. The children came and says, we want to go to Karbala next year. The children says, we want to go to Karbala next year. Now it is the children that will force their parents to go. It is the children that will force their parents to go, inshallah, right? One of the famous sayings of Imam Rida alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He says that the world is a prison for a mu'min and a paradise for the unbeliever. For a mu'min, this is a prison. It's only a matter of time. When can I leave this and go there, right? For a non-believer, this is Jannah for them, right? They don't believe in the hereafter. Ishaq bin Rahway relates that when Imam Rida alayhi salam arrived in Nishapur and he decided to leave the city to join Ma'mun, the hadith scholars all joined him. And Ali again made reference to that in his poetry. Right? And they said, all the scholars got together and says, Yabna Rasulillah, you are leaving us? Relate to us some hadith. Some hadith so that we can benefit from them. So Imam Rida alayhi salam opened the curtain of the mahmil that he was seated in, and he says that I heard from my father Musa ibn Jaffer, who heard from his father Jaffer bin Muhammad, who heard from his father Muhammad bin Ali, who heard from his father Ali bin Hussein, who heard from Hussein bin Ali, who heard from his father Ali ibn Abi Talib, who heard from Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his household, and he heard from Jibreel, who said he heard Allah say, this is as-silsila al-dhahab, this is the golden chain of narration, La ilaha illallah hisni, faman dakhala hisni, amina min adhabin nar. There is no God but Allah. This is my fortress, and whoever enters my fortress shall be safe from the punishment. And when the caravan started moving, Imam opened this again and says, wa sharatihi wa shurutihi wa ana min shurutiha. Right? But there are conditions to this, and I am one of those conditions. I am one of those conditions. What was Imam saying? That if you do not subscribe to Imama, you will not get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will not get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you do not subscribe to Imama. So we can see that there are conditions that we need to adhere to. The link to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. These are the chosen ones. So today, for the remaining time that I have with you, I just want to share with you some ayats from the Quran that you are all aware of, but just to fresh your point and get you from looking at it from a different perspective, to see what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Right? What is their status in the eyes of Allah? And these are ayats from Surah Ahzab. Surah Ahzab, Surah number 33, ayat 6, 21, 33, 45, 46, 53, 56, and 57. I'll go very quickly through. 33:6, ayat number 6. This is, remember, Surah 33. Refer to it afterwards, inshallah. Or you can refer to it on your phone also. Ayat number 6. An-nabiyyu awla bil mu'minina min anfusihim. The Prophet is closer to the believers than themselves. The Prophet has more right over us than we have over ourselves. What did the Prophet do at Ghadir? At Ghadir, when he had made the speech, right, he says, Alastu awla bil mu'minina min anfusihim. Do I have more authority over you than you have over yourselves? And they all unanimously says, Bala ya Rasulullah, indeed, O Prophet. That's when he called Imam Ali, raised his hand and says, Man kuntu mawla, fahada aliyun mawla. Right? Whosoever's mawla I am, this Ali is your mawla also. Right? That means he has the same authority over you that I have over you. Okay, that's one. Then, what is the role of the status of the Prophet? Allah says in ayat number 21, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. You have indeed in the Messenger of Allah a beautiful pattern of conduct for anyone whose hope is in Allah and the final day and who engages much in the praise of Allah. If you believe in Allah and the final day and you do tasbih of Allah, you don't need another role model. Muhammad and Ali Muhammad is sufficient for you. You don't need to go here, there and everywhere. There is the example, perfect example that Allah is pointing. Then, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Why is he a perfect example? Because Allah has decided to keep away all evil and all abominations away from Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. They are your perfect examples, right? Then what is the role of the Prophet? Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira wa da'iyan ila Allahi bi'idhni wa sirajan munira. O Prophet, truly we have sent you as a witness, a bearer of glad tidings and a warner. A witness. What is a witness? Witness of what we are doing. So when you hear this, the times that our Imam of the time receives our amals every Thursday night, yeah, this is what he's talking about. This is the witness. He is witnessing as to what we are doing, and we either he will smile and says, Alhamdulillah, here is my follower, or he will weep and say, really, this man calls wa'ajjal farajahum every day, and this is what he did, yeah. As a witness, a bearer of glad tidings. He gives us good news, and a warner. He warns us also. Right? And as one who invites to Allah's grace by his leave, and he is a lamp spreading light. You want nur, you want light, come to the fold of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. You don't need to look anywhere else. Right? Now look at the concern for the Prophet. Allah's concern for the Prophet. It's a long ayat, Surah 33, ayat number 53. I will just read you the translation. O you who believe. This is to the mu'mineen. Enter not the Prophet's houses until leave is given to you for a meal. If you are invited to the Prophet's house, then go. By all means go. But don't enter the house until permission is given to you to enter. And don't go too early. Don't go too early while the food is being prepared. Right? While the food is being prepared, don't go too early. And when you have gone and you have eaten, then leave. Don't waste the Prophet's time, so to speak, inverted commas. Don't waste the Prophet's time. Now look what Allah is saying. Such behavior annoys the Prophet. He is ashamed to dismiss you, but Allah is not ashamed to tell you the truth. The akhlaq of the Prophet is you are his guest, so he is not going to tell you to leave. But Baba, have some common sense. Leave. He's got too many things to do, right? Now, a point of reflection for me and you. Allah says, when you are invited, go there, go on time, and leave when it's done. Right? The Prophet's time is precious. What do we do? Our aqidah is that when there is sincerity in our hearts and we come to the masjid or we have a majlis at our home or so, Muhammad and Ali Muhammad attend. Right? That is our aqidah, that we believe. Right? That they come. Fatima salamullahi alayha comes to our house when the masahib of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. But now there is majlis in your house at, shall we say, 9 o'clock? I show up at 9:30, 9:45. I'm supposed to be at work at 9 o'clock, 8:45, I'm already at work. Majlis, I come at 9. It is not okay to make my boss wait, because now it will hurt my pocket, right? But it is okay to make Fatima Zahra wait, if you ascribe to that belief. Something to think about. I'm not sitting here and criticizing anybody or anything. I'm just looking at how we operate, and we say, really? It is okay to make Fatima Zahra wait? Think about it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries on. Surah 33 again, 56. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allah and His angels are sending blessings on the Prophet. Not did send, not will send, are sending on an ongoing basis, continuous basis. Will you not join in the sunnah of the Prophet, of Allah and His angels, and send a worthy greetings on the Prophet? Right? And now look at this one. 57. Inna alladhina يؤذون الله ورسوله لعنهم الله في الدنيا والآخرة وعد لهم عذابا مهينا. Those who annoy Allah and His Messenger, Allah has cursed them, sent la'nat on them in this world and the hereafter, and has prepared for them a humiliating punishment. Now look at the books of history and find out who annoyed the Prophet and who the Prophet was upset with. You can come to your own conclusions, right? I'm just pointing out the Quran to you so you are aware. So what is it that the Prophet and the Imams that have been granted? We've been told these are the examples, what is it that they have been given? Amongst many things, they have been given the power of ilmul ghaib. Ilmul ghaib. In principle, ilmul ghaib belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The knowledge of the unseen, right? This belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will look at that. What does ilmul ghaib mean? Past happenings, what happened in the past that we were not present, right? Whatever happened during the time of Musa, Isa, the Prophet, that's all that happened in the past. We were not there, we don't know, right? We don't have knowledge unless there is knowledge revealed to us. Present happenings where we are not there. What is happening outside? We are here, we don't know. What is happening in my house? I don't know, right? We have cameras outside, we can look at that, but what is happening at the same time? But you don't have camera in every room. Otherwise, your wife will throw you out of the house if you put cameras in every room, right? Yeah? No. So, we don't know what is happening there. Present thoughts, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? Right? You might be saying, when will he finish? When will he finish, right? Can he stop? I'm hungry, whatever, because there is smell of food coming from the other side, right? So you might say, what are you thinking? And what will happen in the future? All this and more is ilmul ghaib, the knowledge of the unseen. So now look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Inna alladhina, this is Surah 31, ayat number 34. Inna Allaha indahu ilmu sa'ati wa yunazzilul ghaytha wa ya'lamu ma fil arham wa ma tadri nafsum madha taksibu ghada wa ma tadri nafsum bi ayyi ardin tamut inna Allaha alimun khabir. Verily the knowledge of the hour is with Allah. When will the day of Qiyamah happen? Only Allah knows. Nobody knows. It is He who sends down the rain. It is He who knows what is in the wombs of women. Nor does anyone know what it will be that he will earn tomorrow. Nor does anyone know in which land he is to die. Verily with Allah is full knowledge, and He is acquainted with all things. Nobody knows where they are going to die. Right? There is this interesting story during the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam, right? Where, Sulaiman alayhi salam had the power over bees and birds and everything. So a man comes to him and says, Ya Nabi Allah, I was in the bazaar. And a man looked at me in such a way that it sent chills down my spine. Ya Nabi Allah, I don't want to face him again. With your power that you have granted me, which Allah has granted you, can you get me away from here as far as possible? So Sulaiman alayhi salam with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sent him far away. Next day, Malakul Maut comes to visit him and says, Ya Nabi Allah, I was surprised. What happened? He says, that man, I was told to take his soul in this particular place tomorrow. I saw him in the bazaar today. And I'm saying, how is it possible for this man to go from here to there in the time frame? There was no planes, huh? There was no planes, there was no taxis, no Uber, nothing. You had to go by horse or camel, right? How is it possible for this man to be at the other end in this period of time? It was not possible. But Allah had ordered me to take his ruh there. He asked to be taken there, and he was there, and this is where I took him. So only Allah knows where it is. And then Surah An'am, I'm running out of time, so I will just give you translation. I'll give you reference and translation. 6:59, Surah An'am, Surah 6, Ayat 59. With him are the keys of the unseen, treasures that none know, but he knows whatever there is on the earth and in the sea. Not a leaf falls but with his knowledge. Not a grain in the darkness or depths of the earth, nor anything fresh or green, but is inscribed in a clear record to him. And then Allah goes on, Surah number 10, Ayat number 20. They say, why is not a sign sent down to him from his Lord? Say, the unseen is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then wait, and we will wait too. None in the Surah 27, Ayat 65, none in the heavens or on earth except Allah knows what is hidden, nor can they perceive when they shall be raised up for judgment. Right? So all these ayats point to the fact that only Allah knows the unseen. All of these ayats are pointing that only the knowledge is exclusively with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is an exception. Surah 72, ayat number 26. Alimul ghaibi fala yudhir ala ghaibihi ahada. He alone knows the unseen, nor does he make anyone acquainted with his mysteries. Illa man irtada min rasulin fa innahu yasluku min bayni yadayhi wa min khalfihi rasada. Except an apostle whom he has chosen, and then he makes a band of watchers march before him and behind him. So Allah says, this knowledge is mine, but I will give it to whoever I choose. That I have chosen, I will give him that knowledge. You know, when Musa alayhi salam when he went to do munajat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people said, yeah, Musa, take us. We want to see Allah. They told him, you can't see Allah. You cannot see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? He says, no, take us. So he asked Allah's permission. 70 people he took up there. And they turned around to him and they saw all the miracles, and they turned around to him and says, oh Musa, indeed we shall not believe you until we see God face to face. Whereupon the thunderbolt of punishment came, and they were all killed that time, right? And even the kuffar, when the Prophet had come, they came to him and says, Ya Rasul, you are claiming, they used to say, oh Muhammad, they said, you are claiming to be a prophet, show us a miracle. He says, what do you want? He says, split this tree into two. So the Prophet looked at the tree and says, split into two. The tree split into two. One half came to him and says, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. And the Prophet said, go back and join with your tree. It goes back, and they turn around and they said, is this what you wanted? Didn't you say? He said, no, you are a magician. But this is what you asked for. He says, no, you are a magician. Right? So when they did not want to believe, this is the reality. You know the story of Asif bin Barkhiyah and Sulaiman alayhi salam. It is mentioned in Surah An-Naml, right? Whereby Asif says that I can bring you in the blink of an eye the throne of Bilqis to you. Right? And he did that. In the blink of an eye, the throne of Bilqis was there. And what happened? That he did that, and now when he did that, he brought that. So everybody was amazed as to what happened. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah 27, ayat number 40 says, قَالَ الَّذِينَ إِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِنَّ الْكِتَابِ. That Asif bin Barkhiyah had a knowledge from the book. Minnal kitab, right? Then in Surah Ar-Ra'd, Surah number 13, ayat 43, Allah says, وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَسْتَ مُرْسَلًا قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ. If they are bent on denying the truth, say unto them, O Prophet, you are not a messenger sent by Allah. Say, Allah is sufficient as a witness between me and you, and He who has knowledge of the book. Ilmum min al-kitab, he had knowledge of the book. Ilmul kitab, he was part of the book, and ilmul kitab is knowledge of the book. Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq alayhi salam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, that Asif bin Barkhiyah could do that. He had only a part of the knowledge. Knowledge has 73 parts. Knowledge, Asif had 1 out of 73 parts of that knowledge, and he was able to bring that here. We, Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, have 72 out of 73 parts. 72 out of 73 parts that we have. Now the question that I have is, we all love the Ahlul Bayt. We are all willing to give up everything for them, right? How do we know that the Ahlul Bayt loves us in return? We all love the Ahlul Bayt, no doubt about that. I have not a shadow of doubt. Otherwise, you would not be seated here. You see, when I say you are my friend, that is my claim. That is a claim. Only when you say you are my friend, that becomes a friendship. You know what my biggest fear is? That on the day of Qiyamah, I will see my Mawla there. And I will see him there, and I will rush to him, and I will say, Ya Mawla, all my life, from the day I was able to talk, and my mother taught me, and my father taught me, I said, Ya Ali, every time. When I fell down, I said, Ya Ali. When I stood up, I said, Ya Ali. When I wanted to do something, I said, Ya Ali. Every step of the way, I said, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali. Right? Mawla, here I am. What if my Imam turns around and says, who are you? Who are you? I don't see any asar in you to show that you are my lover. The idea that I am claiming that he is my Mawla, I am his lover, I am his friend, I am his follower. What if the Imam says, I don't see anything in you? Sorry, that's your claim. I don't acknowledge that. I do not acknowledge that. So somebody came and asked Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And he says, Mawla, how do we know that the Ahlul Bayt love us in return? And Imam replies very clearly, Man kana muti'an lillahi fahuwa lana wali. Whoever is obedient to Allah can then claim that he loves us. وَمَنْ كَانَ عَاصِيًا لِلَّهِ فَهُوَ لَنَا عَدُوٌ. And whosoever obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is our enemy. Adu. Imam is not mincing words. So if we are following the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are doing what is expected to us, that is taught to us by Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, then we can claim to be his friends. And I'm sure Imam will acknowledge us accordingly. But if we claim and we do contrary and disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make a mistake is a different story. Yeah? But to consciously keep on committing sin and being oblivious of it and thinking that, yeah, you know what, they will reply, they will be there for our shafa on the day of Qiyamah, doesn't work. It doesn't work. The idea of shafa that they will help us is like a student who has got 48% and he's pushed up to 50% because the teacher knows that this person did the best. He's a good student, he did best. But if you come with 0, just like this example I shared, you know, this student who sat in the exam, after 3 hours of the exam, he couldn't write anything, and he writes, only God can answer this paper. Only God can answer, and the teacher wrote back, God gets 100%, you get 0. Right? So I've got to come with something. If I come with 0, there is no shafa. But somebody asked, Mawla, you are there for us for shifa? The sixth Imam says, yes, but come with something. Come with something so we can help and top it up for you and push you onto the right path up there, right? So whenever we do the tawassul of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, do it with confidence that these are the rightfully chosen ones, that they are who will guide us. The hand of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad is extended. We just have to extend our hand and hold on to them. What is the role of the Prophet? The role of the Prophet was to ensure that he brought the madhab to us and taught us what was expected of us. What is the role of the Imams? Is to carry the work of the Prophet forward and to extend their hands and says, "O Muslimin, O Mu'mineen, hold your hands and we will take you to the path. We will take you." This is the role of the Imams, to make sure that they take us to the final destination, so we are all successful. Right? And the reason why we get all together to remember Muhammad and Ali Muhammad is to revive those spirits of ours so that we can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we can be successful on the day of Qiyamah. Imam Rida alayhi salam is also known as Imam al-Ra'uf. Al-Ra'uf means kind, affectionate, sympathetic, compassionate, all these items. He grants shifa to so many. He grants shifa to so many. You have heard about the stories and you hear about the various stories. There is one story that I just recently heard, whereby this man, he was disabled, he was on crutches and so, and he did not know Imam Rida alayhi salam. So somebody told him, go to and ask for Imam Rida and he will say. So he comes, and this story is related by one of the khuddam. One of the khuddam, those people who work in the haram, and somebody, Azayar, asked him, says, "Have you experienced, how long have you been working?" He says, 20 years. He says, "Have you experienced anything?" He says, "Not me, but my father has had an experience." Said, "What?" And this is where he relates this story. So he said, in those days, Mashhad was much smaller than what we see now. And he said, this man comes, and he comes to this khuddam, and he says, "Where is Ali bin Musa Rida?" So they are saying, who is this guy? He has no tamiz also, he doesn't know how to talk. Right? So somebody told him in the bazaar, "Go and see Ali ibn Musa Rida." So they tell him, as a joke, they tell him, see that tower? Go there, he's there. So he says, "Okay, thank you." And he goes. Now he's getting there, and there are steps to the tower, and he's starting to climb those towers. And these guys realize this man did not take it as a joke. We were pulling his leg, so to speak, but he decided to go. So they rushed after him to say, "Baba, we are sorry." And as they went up, they see him coming down without his crutches. She said, "We are very sorry. We are very sorry. We were pulling your leg. We thought you understood, and we thought we were pulling up, pull a fast one on you." He said, "No, thank you very much. You showed me to the right place." So what happened? He says, "I was up there and a Nurani face came and says, what can I do for you?" He says, "I'm looking for Ali bin Musa Rida." He says, "I am Ali bin Musa Rida. What is it that you want? What is it that?" He says, "I have this problem. I can't walk. I struggle." He says, "Okay, throw your stick away. You are fine. Go." Go. And he went. Right? And he was cured. And this is when you have iman. When you have iman and you have yaqeen that the imam will deliver, then there is no reason why it cannot be delivered. And one more, and with this I will finish, inshallah. There is this story about a man who... his father keeps on telling him, he's from another city in Iran, and his father keeps on telling him, let's go, get married. And he says, no. Whoever his father introduces, he doesn't want to get married. He finds nooks from everybody, When you get to a certain age afterwards, then everybody's a problem. You're waiting for an angel to come from heaven, but you have to be an angel to be able to receive an angel from heaven. But that's a side story for another day, right? Anyhow, he refuses. So finally he talks to his friend in Mashhad, and he says, "Do something." He says, "Okay, bring him." His friend used to work as a khuddam. His friend used to work as one of the khuddam. He says, come for a day. So they flew in that day. But the son, when the father tells the son, let us go there, the son says, "One condition, I will come. Don't talk about marriage. Don't talk about getting married. I am not interested. I will come." So they go there, they serve up there. He serves for the day, and as he's coming out, as he comes out of the haram, he sees a piece of paper on the ground. So he picks up the paper, and there is a name and a phone number. So he looks at that and he says, so he asks around, "What is this? Whose number is this? What is this one?" So they point him out. He says, "One of those khuddam that are working, that is his number, this." He says, "Okay." So they go to him and he says, what is happening? So they tell him that they go to them. Now this one is from the very poor area of Mashhad, right? This Khuddam lives in a very poor area. And he says, this is the number of my daughter. This is the number of my daughter. So this man says, I want to marry this girl. Hey, Baba, you haven't seen her. Until now you are telling us that you don't want to marry. Now all of a sudden, why are you infatuated with this number that you haven't seen? No, he says, if I marry, I will marry this girl. Okay, so they find out, they eventually go there, they make the proposal, he gets married there. Then on the wedding night he asks, how did you find me? The wife is asking the husband, how did you find me? He says, I found your number. I found your number in the haram of Imam Rida alayhi salam, and that's how I tracked it, and this is how we ended up getting married. And the girl says, I had every confidence that my Imam would answer my dua. My Imam would answer my dua, but I did not believe that he would answer it this quickly. He would answer it this. She had come and prayed to Imam and said, Mawla, I have not been able to get married. I need your help. And this is how the Dariya was made, and this is how. And there are so many stories. There are so many stories that we can talk about, but I don't want to take up a lot of your time. Just one last one. Ayatullah Hayri Yazdi, it's reported from him that when he died, he says he sees himself that he's buried now, and there are two flames of fire coming towards him. And all of a sudden, there is a light that comes, and this fire go away. So he turns to the light and says, thank you very much. Who are you? He says, I'm Ali bin Musa Rida. I'm Ali bin Musa Rida. I'm come to visit you. You came and visited me 36 times. I will visit you 36 times. I will visit you also 36 times. So when you visit your Imam, don't think that you are not, that they are not. When you do Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Musa Riza, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'min. To say salam is mustahab. To reply is wajib. To reply is wajib. The Imams, the Prophet and the Imams are replying. We just don't have the capacity to hear. We do not, that internet connection is not very good. We cannot hear. When we connect with them, then the veils are lifted and we can hear their call. We can hear their reply. And this last one, whereby there were a man who used to live outside Karbala, far away, and he used to come to visit Karbala every Thursday. And he had 2 horses or donkeys or camels or whatever it was. And he would come one on himself, and one he would bring his father. 1 week his father, next week his mother. He would bring, because he had 2 animals only. And he would come there, and he would go back. Next week his mother would bring. One day his mother turns to him and says, Beta, I want to go. I know it is your father's turn this week, but I want to go to Karbala. I have this desire today to be in Karbala. So he saw the face of his mother and he could not say no to her. So what he did is that he put 1 animal for his mother, 1 for his father, and he walked. He walked all the way to Karbala. He took them out. And from that day onwards, whenever he stood before Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, he heard the reply. He heard the reply that because of his selflessness and his consideration for his parents, this barakah was granted to him also. This is Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. We don't need anybody else. We don't need anybody else. They are sufficient for us. They are sufficient for us. And because they are sufficient for us, the enemies would not allow them. Would not allow them to live peacefully and be able to spread the message so that we could be a stronger ummah. Imam Rida alayhi salam, when he was in the palace of Ma'mun quickly realized that if Imam Rida is kept here for a longer time, he will turn this whole ummah towards it. So he decided that to poison him. He decided to poison him, and Abu Salt is relating that Imam Rida was left his house and was going to the palace, and he turned to Abu Salt and he says, Abu Salt, I am going there. If I come back the same way, no, everything is okay. But if I have my aba on my covering my head, know that your imam has been poisoned. Know that your imam has been poisoned. And imam goes, and as he comes back, Abu Salt, he's been praying all this time that he doesn't see this, and he sees the aba on the head of Imam Rida alayhi salam, and he starts weeping, and he says, oh my imam, they have done this to you. They have decided to kill you. Now imam is suffering from the poison. One moment he is sitting down, one moment he is sleeping, one moment he is on the floor, one moment he is turning around, just like a fish out of water. As the poison takes effect into his body, eventually a time comes where it is reported that Imam Jawad alayhi salam was in Medina, and all of a sudden as he was walking, his face turned red, and his companion says, Maula, what is happening? He says, my father is facing his last moments. I have to go. And he rushes towards Khurasan, and eventually he meets up with Imam, and Imam finally in his lap passes away. Ghusl and kafan is given to Imam Rida. He is buried with all the honors out there. But I look back and says, oh, look in Karbala. Look at the day of Ashura, when the Munadi called out, Ala qad qutila al-Husaynu bi Karbala, ala dhubiha al-Husaynu bi Karbala. There was nobody there to hold the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in his lap. Imam Zainul Abidin was there, but there was nothing he could do. Not only that, Imam Rida was buried with all honors. Imam Zainul Abidin is watching while his father's body is trampled by the horses. When the horses have trampled his body, breaking all the bones, and all. Not only that, now the next day all the army of Yazid has buried their people, but the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the ashab are all left out there, and they are now paraded. Imam Zainul Abidin and Bibi Zainab are all paraded through the Maidan where they see the body. Suddenly Bibi Zainab watches Imam Zainul Abidin that his face has turned white, and he looks and says, oh my son Ali, what is happening to you? He says, I am a young man. My father is there, and there is nothing I can do because my hands are tied. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-dhalimin. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مات حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.